Hey folks, I just wanted to give a quick update of some of the big exciting new changes that we've made here on anesthesiacharting.com. The biggest thing you'll notice is that previously, after the IV access step here, we had a step for where you enter drugs drawn up to mimic the act of kind of actually drawing up in preparation for the case and setting aside the drugs that you're planning on using for IV cases primarily. But now what we did is that was a little bit different than how we were doing everything else, and we wanted to kind of unify the whole drugs experience a little bit more as we kept adding more types. So now on the drugs page itself, we have tabs across the top here for the various drug types. So there's inhalation agents, IV drugs, locals, oral sedatives, and infusion drugs, which is actually new now. I'll talk about that in a second. But first, the actual contents of these is largely unchanged, except for IV drugs, which I'll talk about next. But this should look familiar. You just set the amount of these and they get recorded. And for IV drugs, however, this is where the changes are. So what we've done is, just like the other ones for local anesthetics, you can select and unselect. So we're going to do the same thing here for IV drugs. So this is just a matter of actually selecting. So if I select some midazolam, click OK. Now you'll notice there's this new option here. So you can either say that you want us to calculate waste, or you can do it at the end. And this preference is stored and remembered to your account. So if you specify that you never want us to do waste calculations for you by entering draws, we'll remember that. So for the next case, it'll start on this option selected. But you can always switch back and forth if you would like. So previously, instead of doing draws over here, if I say that we do want to calculate waste, it's going to start you out saying, okay, well, how much are we drawing up? So I could specify, something here. Let's say 10, and then record the draw, and then you'll see the card flip over, and now we're back into administration mode here. So then we could say, all right, whatever, 2 milligrams, and hit record dose. Now, you can always go back and draw more here, and you can enter how much more you want to draw. So let's say, you'll notice it remembered from last time what you did. So if you're drawing up the same amount again, you can do it like that. And now there was total of 20. Now there's 18 available left here. And just like before, it will warn you if you're about to create a record that's impossible. So if I start typing, 25, then all of a sudden you get this, hey, not enough drawn, and you can't actually go record it unless you draw more. Now, that said, the other thing that I want to point out here is a lot of times, especially with IV, doses like this, they're given the same dose repeatedly, kind of bump, bump, bump. And so in that scenario, all you have to do is if you leave that selected, you can hit enter and it will record. And then to do it again, you can just hit enter again. So if that's all you're wanting to do, you can keep recording doses in that way. So if you do say, no, I want to calculate it at the end, I want to enter it at the end, then you'll see this just disappears. So instead, now there's no limitation. You can give whatever you want here, and it's not going to stop you from administering it because you're just creating a record for that. Again, you can always go edit records up here. Everything that's been given up to that point, you can add and remove. And then additionally, at the very end, then when you're all done, you can say, okay, I want to enter the waste, and you can just put whatever number here you want, and you say, okay, confirm waste, and that's done. So in that way, we also help make sure that you do enter it at the end. So this step will be considered incomplete until you've done that, just to help you make sure you don't miss anything. The same is true now of inhalation agents. So if you leave any inhalation agents going and you haven't set them to 0 and the case is complete, it will mark that as incomplete and warn you that you should probably go change that before it's all done. One other thing I want to point out now is the infusions. So for the infusions, some people want to know not just what the patient's body mass is, but what their estimated lean body mass is. And in our research, we found several different formulas for calculating this, calculating an estimate of this. And so we select one based on what we think makes sense, and we show you the results for both male and female. But we also give you all the data. So if you want to see there's other formulas, we tell you why we selected the one we did. Again, this is all pulled from patient age information here that you entered in previous steps. essentially, if there's a pediatric patient, it will start using this formula here instead as a default. But again, this is all just kind of to save you doing the math, some decision support. So here, if we want to give some infusions, we can go, it works very, very similarly to everything else. You go to this page, you select what you want to do, and you can click done or just tap outside the dialog here. And now it's asking you, okay, what is the weight that you're entering into the pump for this patient? Since it's given by microgram by kilogram per minute. So you have to know, what in order to estimate, we want to know kind of what the weight is that you're using. It's going to default with whatever you entered for the patient information. And if you entered it in pounds, it will convert it to kilograms for you. And then you just enter the flow rate amount. So let's say 25, and you say record rate adjustment, and that will start it up here. And you'll see now it says, 25 milligrams or micrograms per kilogram per minute, times and slash change, estimated total up to this point, which you'll confirm at the end. But it's pretty straightforward. You just set the flow rate. Anytime you're changing it, you just change it in here. You record the rate adjustment, and as it goes here, the line will get drawn on the graph above. You can also, some infusion pumps support boluses, so you can also do that. So if you want to say, a bolus of 25, set pump bolus, and now you'll see the unit here has changed from micrograms to per kilogram, and there's no minutes involved here at this point. So you record the bolus, and that shows up much like the other drugs, where when you give a dose of something, it shows up as a circle. So that just is overlaid on top of the graph here, so you can see where the boluses are kind of along the flow rate as well. And then when you're done, you just say stop. Well, same here, you can edit records, and you can see, oh, this was actually, I meant to put flow rate, I meant to put bolus, whatever. And you can change this at will. You can remove them. So this is kind of your full editing mode right here. But then once that's done, you say, okay, stop pump. And now it wants to ask you, what is left. So now you can actually enter the totals from the pump. We give you an estimate here, but then you'll want to enter, amount wasted or whatever. So, yeah, you can do that. You say confirm total, and then that's it. So yeah, that's infusion pump support. We're really excited about this feature. Looking forward to getting feedback from more people on this. Let us know what you think about the changes. Thanks so much. Bye.